We're going live. And we're live.
Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Jason with Soul Seeker, and Aaron is behind the wheel today, and you can even say he's in the wheelhouse. He is going to be flying the whole system today because you can see we are at the lovely Tulum. We're at the El Dorado Resort for adults only. Wow. If you've got kids, go somewhere else. Sorry, not sorry. However, it's funny because we're right in the midst of checking out, about to transport, and from there, we are going to be hitting the airport. So I'm only going to be on here for a moment. Aaron, do you still see me?
I don't know. No, I don't. I hear you.
I don't see it either. Yeah. Okay. Well, that is probably due to the crazy internet here. Looks like we've got some folks that are chiming in. Welcome. Aaron, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you by saying, hey, check out all of our profiles. We've got Extraordinary Horizons. That's Aaron. We've got Soul Seeker Life on YouTube and TikTok and all the stuff for us. And then you'll see Patrick here in a little while with his Sailing Electra. And so make sure to follow everybody. Check us out. Consume our content. I think it's good stuff. But today's episode, What the Hull, is going to be spearheaded by Aaron, and I think Jim may be a surprise appearance. So, Aaron, take it away.
All right, cool. So we're going to basically cobble our way through this one. As we all know, it's been a holiday week, so things have been quite hectic on everywhere and all fronts. So what the hull? So what the hull does that mean? Yeah, obviously, there is lots of different materials that we can build hulls of boats out of. We have wood, which is where everything started, steel, which is where everything started as well. We have fiberglass, aluminum, Kevlar, composite, and there's probably more that I'm not mentioning. So which one's best? That's an interesting question. So there is no actual best. What's best is basically what's best for you and what's best for the environment that you're boating in. So if you're up north, say in like Alaska or Antarctica or these type of really cold climates, Washington State in the U.S., Netherlands, Denmark, any place where it gets really cold and you're going to possibly encounter ice in the water, you're probably best with a steel boat, because steel is obviously stronger than fiberglass, which at the end of the day is basically hard plastic. Wood, freezing and heating and cooling of wood, then you have expansion and contraction, which isn't really great for the wood. Steel is basically solid. It doesn't really contract or expand too much, and we're super strong. Aluminum does tend to do well in colder climates as well. These these are what they're building the big ships out of for the most part. They're built yes.
I'm so sorry. I know that.
We got to put the disclaimer up, don't we?
Yeah, we've got to do that, and I'm going to have to dip out because it's our turn to go check out. I will try and jump on after I'm done with that, but keep talking because you're on that's already. I'm looking forward to learning the rest of this because I'm thinking, wait, steel, great, but what about the Titanic? Like, these are questions I have.
So, yeah.
Make sure you hit on that. So, all right thanks, perfect. Guys. I will see you.
All right, perfect. So let me put up the disclaimer, and then hopefully I can get myself back on the screen here because I am a Restream virgin. Like, this is my first time running the show here. Don't really know what I'm doing, but obviously an adventure seeker. So I will figure it. I will jump out of the plane and figure out the parachute later. So let me put up the disclaimer here. Well. Yeah, so the disclaimer, I don't know if you guys are seeing the disclaimer, but obviously the disclaimer says that we're doing our own DIY stuff here. Anything you can and do we obviously can't be held responsible for. Oh, and it looks like Patrick is coming. So let Patrick in, and then Patrick and I can basically talk about things together. Patrick, you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I hear you loud and clear. I don't see anyone at the moment, but I do
All
hear
right,
you.
perfect.
It's
Perfect.
good
You
to be
see
on
the
board.
you see the disclaimer on the screen? You see me? You see anything? Wow.
I see the disclaimer on the screen. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So I was just going over the disclaimer. Welcome in, and just saying that anything that anybody does or can do with anything that we talk about on the show, you, I, Jason, or anybody else that comes on that show, on our show for the matter, as a guest, cannot be held responsible. These are all DIY things. We're doing them at our own risk. We're just sharing our experiences with you as we go along the way. So now let me figure out how to get this disclaimer off of the screen and get back to where. So what do you see? What do you see on the screen now? Now you see my face, right?
Good-looking guy. Yeah. How you
Oh,
doing?
perfect. Perfect. All right. So let me bring you up to speed. The topic today is what the hull, and I was basically going over the different types of hulls where we have steel, aluminum, fiberglass, Kevlar. I don't know. I probably missed a lot of them, but wood, and I was the first one, which would be steel, and mentioning where steel hull would be best used. Majority in a cold climate. And then Jason was here and he dipped off and he said, let's talk a little bit about the Titanic. Yeah. So the Titanic was a steel hull. Obviously, steel has made tons of advances since the Titanic. I don't know how much time we want to spend on doom and gloom, which is the Titanic. But yeah, I don't really know the whole story about the Titanic. I know they hit an iceberg. It made a hole in the hull. It made a hole in the hull that was obviously larger than could have been repaired at the time when the boat was breached, when the hull had a hole in it. So, and the boat ended up going down with everyone on board. I don't know if anyone lived through that or not. Patrick, do you know anything about that or no?
I know what I've seen on the movie. So the wealthy people and most of the women and children of the wealthy people, I think, got off. But yeah, it was
Okay.
the quite an ironic first voyage on the unsinkable ship and it sinks. So never
Yeah.
tempt fate like that. Touch a lot of wood.
Yeah,
And
exactly. I mean, so steel has come lifetimes since the Titanic. There's probably still some of the same formula in the steel as there was when the Titanic was around. But obviously, like everything else, technology and materials have come really far. After steel, I believe, then the hulls went to wood, or maybe around the same time that steel was being used, wood was being used too. Um, the issue with wood is wood expands and contracts. So it does. There's a lot of controversy around wood hulls, being that they don't you when you haul out, when you pull the boat out of the water to do work on it, you cannot leave the boat out of the water for too long, or else you have problems with contracting of the wood, and then all of the caulking and cotton that you put in between the joints of the wood tends to crumble, and everything contracts, and then basically you have to start over again, fill in all those cracks. It's a whole heck of a lot of work because it's really not a solid. The hull is really never solid. It's planks, and all of your planks are all the joints in your planks, or all the spaces or gaps in your planks are filled with cotton and some type of caulking. So, what do you know about wood hulls, Patrick?
so we were in a marina last year called Monfalcone, which is known for just outside Venice. Sorry, I've got two dogs that must be just outside Venice, and it's they've got a beautiful, beautiful set of wooden boats in and around Venice that do a lot of tours and that. And they came to
Yeah.
Monfalcone for a few days. They are stunning. So wooden boats are beautiful. I mean, it's the romance behind sailboats is is having wooden boats. There are quite a few downsides, and some of the downsides, in fact, is that some of the boatyards won't even haul a wooden boat because by the time you get it hauled out and that it starts rotting out and
Yeah.
wood rot, things go a little bit haywire. But if you want a classic boat, if you want a pretty boat, there's very little to beat a wooden boat. But there's a funny saying that I hear all the time that friends don't let friends buy wooden boats, and it's just because of so wooden boats can die on you, and whereas the rest of them fiberglass boats and they need to be euthanized, but a wooden boat wants to die, and you've got to constantly do this maintenance and this upkeep. So personally, I wouldn't buy one, but I loved looking at the Wooden Boat Club when they came past. They were all so pretty.
Yeah, so I have a unique situation where below the water line, meaning any area or any surface that touches the water of my boat is solid fiberglass. There's no wood core, there's no nothing. But above the water line, it is wood, and it's wood covered with fiberglass, covered with resin and fiberglass. And like Patrick said, it's always there that if there's a piercing of the fiberglass and water does get into the wood, that you're going to have an issue with rot, that you're going to have to basically cut out and put a new piece of wood in, a new piece of wood core, or a piece of Kusa board or foam board replacing the wood, and then resin and fiberglassing over that. For lack of better words, a patch. And then eventually you may have patches all over your boat, because wood rot is, I would say wood rot is inevitable if you get piercings into the fiberglass. But that's not to say that when we move on to the next material, which is fiberglass. So but wood is strong, right? So a wood boat is strong. It does rot. It does last. There are boats out there that are wood that have lasted for hundreds and hundreds of years. Salt water doesn't. So it's really not the salt water that rots the wood. It's the fresh water. It's the rainwater. Salt water actually preserves the wood. So, all right. So I'm all over the place here. So moving on to fiberglass. So fiberglass would be difficult to withstand an iceberg, so to speak. I'm pretty sure that steel would be a better choice, or maybe even wood in an iceberg or ice situation, or any log or any kind of obstruction in the water at all. So fiberglass, especially. Not knocking those that have the newer production hulls, but the newer production hulls are pretty thin. They a lot of the production companies lay glass differently than hand laying. Some of them spray it out of a sprayer. Some of them hand lay really thin layers of glass, and thin and glass is an oxymoron that doesn't really go well together. It cracks, it breaks. It doesn't really make for a strong hull. Like Patrick's boat was built back in the 70s. So yeah, in the 70s, before inflation and and profit over people and all these kind of things, they built a really, really strong, thick hull, like an inch or so or more. And when you have an inch or so of fiberglass, like fiberglass itself inherently is strong, but when you're building an inch or more, it's super duper strong. And back then, go ahead.
So I once said, when my boat was on the hard, I hadn't put it in the water yet, and I had a guy helping me with some fiberglass. And so the reason they're so thick is they didn't actually know how strong fiberglass would be, how long it would last in the 70s. So they just overbuilt it by accident, just in case. And nowadays they know more or less exactly how strong it is. So they don't. But I had a guy helping me with some fiberglass work to mount the motors and that. And the one morning I was sleeping and there was a massive crash. I just heard this huge bang and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I got outside and he'd actually reversed his truck, into the back of my boat. and his truck had a huge V-shaped dent in it, and my boat had a little bit of paint missing from the outside. So I think
Yeah.
if I had a modern hull, I think it wouldn't have ended up quite as well in that circumstance.
Yeah, it may have crumbled actually. um, Back then they had like I believe back then they used one type of resin, which was epoxy resin, and they didn't have anything else, and they probably back
I
then
think
only
it
had.
was polyester was the older one.
Was it?
Yeah,
Okay, so
I think so. But
that,
again, under correction, yeah.
yeah,
Mine is polyester, so
okay, so yeah, it was polyester, and now they're using mostly polyester still on whole boats. But now you have, and we're not going to get too technical because you could go for days and days on this topic. But
yeah.
now there's other kinds of vinyl ester and uh, and and epoxy with no word in front of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and there's all different kinds of glass mat and chop strand and thicker mat and thinner mat and different ounces, and there's tons of different choices as to what to fix with or what to build with. um, but I mean, so that's fiberglass. So it's basically you're laying matte material into a resin, into a glue, so to speak. Um, there's got to be a better word than glue, but into a, I don't know the word, into something that hardens. It's a two-part liquid that, when left to cure, hardens, and it hardens with this mat. This mat melts into it, and it hardens into it, and it becomes one solid piece. So it is really super strong, and fiberglass is, I would say, in the grand scheme of things, is pretty easy to fix.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. It's just, I mean, so I've got a couple of rolls of fiberglass on my boat, and I've probably got about 5 liters, 10 liters of epoxy. Pretty much anything that goes wrong, I can patch on the go and make it work, which if you've
Yeah,
got a steel boat, have you got a welder on board? Maybe not. If you've got a wooden boat, okay, you might, it's quite easy to fix a wooden boat as
yeah,
well because
yeah,
you've always got wood around.
yeah,
But I think fiberglass, pretty easy to work with. But you've got to be careful when you're working with it because if you sand fiberglass, you've got really dangerous dust all over the show that you don't want to breathe in, and you
yeah,
get a lot of people are allergic to epoxy or can build up an allergy to epoxy as well, which is not
yeah,
fun. But hopefully you don't need to do it too often, and if you do, you just dress up really well.
yeah, yeah. You wear the little mouse suit, the little white suit with the hood and
Yeah,
and the respirator and all that. You're ready to go in for surgery. Um, yeah, I mean, so on a steel boat, basically, like Patrick mentioned, in order to repair that, you need a welder. I would say, and I may get some fruit and vegetables thrown at me for this, but I would say that you probably need more skill to be a welder than you do to be a to fix fiberglass. Um,
yeah,
like
I agree. Yeah.
you can learn how to do the fiberglass fixing from the University of YouTube. Right, so I guess you could learn how to do welding too, but welding is with fire, right? Welding is with fire, welding is with heat, welding is dangerous. um you know I I'm thinking that fiberglass is quite a bit easier to fix, and wood is probably easier to fix than even fiberglass. But wood, depending on how you use it, wood could combine fiberglassing and woodwork and carpentry. So way back when they were just using wood. They were not putting really any fiberglass or resin protectant over the wood. They were using wood, and then they were using tar to cover over the wood as a protectant. They've experimented with a lot of different things. They've experimented with tar. They've experimented with latex paint. They've experimented with two-part epoxy paint, with one-part epoxy paint. I mean, you name it. If you can put it on as a coating, people have put it on their wood boats as a coating. to try to see how long the test of time the substrate or the material could last before it inevitably starts to crumble. So now you have aluminum. So aluminum is a relatively, I want to say, newer comer to the scene. I believe that they started building aluminum boats with little John boats, with little Bass John boats for like the lakes and the rivers and the canals and the streams. And then they said, wow, this aluminum stuff works kind of good. We can rivet it together. We can weld it together as well. And it's, you're going to get into the controversy now. Is it stronger than steel? Is it not stronger than steel? What are the different pros and cons? And the pros and cons are different with each different person you talk to. So what do you think, Patrick? What do you think about aluminum? I think that it's good. It's versatile.
Yeah.
Unlike,
so, I mean, it's almost as strong as steel. I think steel is probably a little bit stronger, but aluminum is right up there. And if you are going into Arctic waters, and that an aluminum boat will do you really well. It's lightweight as well. In fact, I think an aluminum boat could be even lighter than fiberglass if you build it well. Um,
yeah.
and it never corrodes. It's not like steel where rust is going to come and be this cancer on the boat that sort of slowly eats away at it. So it's very easy to do. The downside is whenever you've got stainless steel on aluminum, they try and eat each other. So I've got a friend who's got an aluminum boat, and they love it, but virtually every bolt on their boat was seized into place, so they had to sort of break them loose, and you put sort of special coatings on the bolts when you put them back in so that it doesn't happen. But yeah, besides that, the only other downside they had is they couldn't get their copper coat to stick to it. They had to obviously put a layer between the aluminum and the copper coat because otherwise they would eat each other.
Yeah.
But their copper coat was coming off in sort of flakes and that. So it was either maybe they didn't treat it properly or that, but it is very difficult to paint aluminum. So when you see them, they're often silver above the waterline because they haven't painted it because, eventually the paint is going to come loose. But I love an aluminum boat. I love the idea of an aluminum boat. I think the reason that sort of all the modern boat shows like Sailing Vessel Delos and that have got big aluminum catamarans being built in that is because probably on the whole, if money is not an object, it is, a boat that'll take you anywhere and not weigh a ton on that.
Yeah.
But I probably, in terms of welding aluminum, it's going to be much harder than welding steel. So it's probably not something you're going to learn to do very easily. You'll have to probably go for a lot of lessons on that. And it's just going to be a little bit harder than steel for everything else as well.
Yeah, I mean, what you mentioned, when you put the metals that the unlike metals together, you have something called galvanic corrosion, where one metal, where the stronger metal goes to try to eat the weaker metal, and they basically fuse themselves together, and you cannot get them apart. There's this like gel stuff that you can put in between the two dissimilar metals. You could put a nylon washer. Again, all kinds of different creative things to basically keep the two metals from sandwiching together, because then they're going to basically fuse themselves together. Also, like Patrick mentioned, you can't really paint aluminum. If you paint aluminum, you can, but eventually the paint bubbles and starts peeling and makes an awful mess. I don't know why that is. I guess because the surface is so smooth that nothing really is able to bond to it. And it's not porous either. Is aluminum porous or no?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so nothing really ever bonds to it. So it ends up sliding off or bubbling off. And then you end up with patches of, that's why, like Patrick mentioned, most of the boats you see are
so one third of my hardtop over the cockpit is actually aluminum sheets that's been bent into shape, and it was a nightmare to paint. Eventually, with a lot of trial and error, it mostly is the paint is sticking to it, but there's a few areas where it is actually flaking off at the moment. Yeah.
Cool. So, all right. So, moving on to another type of material being used for hulls, and these are more of the newer types. You have the Kevlars and the composites and the material that starts with the F. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's skipping my head.
Yeah, carbon fiber and
Yeah, there you go. Carbon fiber. Yeah, one of the words starts with an F. You have carbon fiber. You have Kevlar. You have e-glass. You have all these other newer types of new age materials.
expensive.
What? Say that again.
Really expensive materials, yeah.
Yeah, they're really expensive materials. I believe you need to use special kinds of resins with them in order to get them to work. Um, Again, huge amount of controversy around them. They say that they're stronger than their predecessors. You know, it depends on who you ask. Um, but then you have another old school material, which is ferro cement. So um, one of the guys that's helping me out building my boat, he loves ferro cement. Um, it's really strong. It's really easy to fix. It's over a metal chicken wire type of structure underneath the cement, the concrete. So you do have issues with that cage or that that surface underneath. But again, like wood, you can cut out the cancer or the rot, so to speak, and fix it pretty easily. And these ferro cement boats are, one of the negative is they're super heavy, but one of the positive is they're super heavy. So, they're a go anywhere boat. There, you can go to the Arctic. You can probably run into an iceberg and nothing would happen because they're basically it's like your sidewalk, like the sidewalk that you walk on, or your driveway that you drive your car on. Super duper strong, super heavy. I'm yet to see a catamaran built out of one. I've seen lots of monohulls. I don't even know if it would be possible to build a catamaran out of one. Maybe it would. Maybe just the hulls. But there's lots of monohulls, and there's like a whole following of people that love these things. Like there's groups on Facebook that have tons of people that love these ferro cement boats. So they're big, like there's 60, 70, 80-foot ferro cement monohull boats with big tall masts and awesome. Like like what Patrick said. For me, they're awesome to look at. I don't know if I'd ever own one. But if somebody keeps one in good condition and they have it painted, you would never know that there was cement underneath the paint. Um, Plus, for insulation, it's also really, really thick and really good. Like there's basically no weather coming through that type of material at all. So what do you know about ferro cement?
There's two things I know about ferrous cement boats. So in the 80s in South Africa, a lot of people wanted to leave the country and take all of their belongings and valuables and that with them. And one of the ways they would do it was building up a ferrous cement boat because you can do it in your backyard quite easily.
Yeah. Yep.
And they'd get on the water and they'd sail to the Caribbean and that, and normally sell it on the other side there. And
Wow.
that's just sort of how they got their wealth out of the country. The other thing I know is that my current boatyard won't lift a ferrous cement boat, and I didn't dig into why, but it's one of the notices outside that they won't lift wooden boats or ferrous cement boats. Wooden boats without special insurance, and ferrous cement boats they wouldn't lift at all. I don't know if it was maybe exceeding the crane's weight capacity, or if they
Could
just
be.
weren't sure how to lift it without causing damage or anything like that. But those are the only two things I know.
Could be. Yeah, I mean they are strong, and probably when they get older, if they're not taken care of, they could crumble up in the lift. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, but then again, so could anything else if you don't take care of it. Wood, fiberglass, or any, oh well, steel. I mean, steel, if it's corroded with full of rust, it could
Yeah.
give way, um, for sure. But I mean, like going back to the whole beginning of this whole live stream. So, what's the best material? There isn't one. I mean, it depending on who you're talking to. It A lot of people, I guess most people want to say the best one is the one that they have, because they're biased. So they're all of the materials are versatile in their own right, and they all have their own positives and negatives. Like, I don't know if I really would want to bring a fiberglass boat into the north. You may end up in a bad way, because it's not, at the end of the day, it's plastic, right? So plastic and ice really don't work well together. They don't mix well together. So that's why most everything you see up in the north, everyone wants a big, strong, either aluminum or a metal hull. And I think aluminum is a newer choice. You still see old steel boats, and again, the salt water isn't really necessarily what rots or what corrodes the steel. It's the fresh water, but it could be a competition neck and neck of which corrodes faster and more, whether it's wood or steel, and which is harder to maintain, steel or wood. Definitely wood is easier to fix once you have an issue than steel. So what are your thoughts?
I mean, I was thinking the other day, so if money wasn't an object and I had to build my own hull, what would I build it out of? And it's, for me, it would either be between aluminum or fiberglass, and it would be a tough decision. I think aluminum isn't going to crack on you. You can hit a log in the middle of the ocean, and you might have a dent, but it's going to keep you afloat. Whereas fiberglass, that's not always the case. Um,
Yeah.
but the majority of boats out there are fiberglass, and you can work on them yourself. You can fix it yourself. It would be a
Yeah.
tough call. It would be a very tough call. But I'm probably not going to build my own boat from scratch. I think I would rather be out there sailing than building. Although it is fun
Yeah.
sometimes. But the nice thing about aluminum is, when you are building it, if you've learned how to weld it, you don't need to worry about fiberglass dust or getting epoxy into your system or things like that. It's a nice clean material.
Yeah, but
I've enjoyed watching Delos design and build their boat. I think it's looking like a fantastic boat. I'm really curious to see. But you don't see a lot of small catamarans made out of aluminum, and I'm not sure why.
yeah.
No, interesting
And
too.
so, yeah, I mean, so like on the other side of that, so with steel and aluminum, they're strong. And you mentioned a couple times about the fiberglass dust. Well, with steel and aluminum, you have the metal dust. So you have the metal dust when you're cutting and working with the metal and the aluminum, and that's not so good either, right? You can. Oh, Jason is back. So yeah, that's not so good either. You leave that in, even though it's not as light as dust, you can still breathe that in. It can cut you. It can. It's hard to get it all out. It could be there for years to come. But I mean, all of these are negatives and positives about the different thing.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
our
the one thing that
our world travelers. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I said probably the one thing that would keep me in sort of the fiberglass world is just I've really got, you can't get good cheap labor pretty much anywhere you need it, and fiberglass you can fix yourself quite simply. So that would probably keep me in that realm, just in case I want to change something or add something or cut a piece out and put some new layers down or something like that. I think fiberglass. I would probably go fiberglass again. But again, I've got no desire to go into the Arctic type waters. I think icebergs are beautiful to see from a distance, and I'll keep it on TV rather than something I'll see in real life.
Yeah. What was that, Jason?
Patrick, good question for you, if I can jump in there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, what do you think about, and I think actually, the more I think about this, Aaron might be more the one to answer this because he's in the midst of such a rebuild. But either one of you really, is it possible to fiberglass using aluminum or steel? I mean, we know we can fiberglass over wood, Now, whether or not we should versus foam, we can discuss that, but we know it works.
Yeah.
I'm curious, aluminum or steel, can those be used as the core material and we fiberglass over those for whatever reason?
So I know that you can, like you mentioned, you can fiberglass over wood. And I know for a fact you can fiberglass and use epoxy over ferro cement as well. It's different materials, though. It's a different kind of epoxy than you would use for a fiberglass. I don't necessarily know that you would fiberglass over steel or aluminum, and the reason why is because you're basically cheapening, or you're making it worse, right? I think that you would be weakening it by putting the fiberglass over the aluminum, or the steel, using the aluminum or the steel as a core material. So I don't, other than trying to mitigate your corrosion and your rust, or in the aluminum case, the oxidation, why would you want to do that? Just to have a coating over the core material so it'd be easier to fix? Jason, what would be the purpose? To throw it back at you?
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and that's why I'm completely unsure of this whole world. But it was, the thought was, one.
We lost him. He'll be back. So he has a real bad connection. He's out there in Dominican Republic in paradise with his family for the holidays. So I'm sure that you could, because there's people that come up with creative ways to do all kinds of things with all kinds of things. So I'm sure you could, but I'm not sure you would want to do that. What are your thoughts, Patrick? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I think there's only things to go wrong with that. I mean, your steel would probably still rust underneath it, and your aluminium doesn't need it. So there's, I think it would be a fool's errand.
Yeah, I think that steel would, because what would happen, I believe, would be the humidity and the condensation would get stuck under your fiberglass in some way, and your core material would be steel. In that case, it would corrode. It would go bad, because you would have rainwater somehow making its way, like water always does, into the core material, and basically destroying your steel. With aluminum, so aluminum, it's not possible for aluminum to rust. Aluminum can only oxidate unless you mix aluminum with another dissimilar metal, and then they basically can corrode together, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about aluminum to say it would never rust. I mean, I know it oxidates. Does it never rust, Patrick, or what? Oh, you there? Yeah, I don't hear you, Patrick. You're on mute. You're on. Oh, wait. Hold on. I think I may have muted you. Oh, no, you muted yourself. Unmute yourself.
Sorry,
so that
I did.
There
Okay.
you are.
Did you hear me, or do I need to go
No,
again?
I didn't. We didn't hear anything you said. No.
Okay. So aluminum in theory never rusts. It forms an oxidized layer on the outside, which actually protects it, and
Yeah.
your boat will last forever, which is brilliant. And I think that's a very nice thing about aluminum boats.
Yeah, I think that I think you mentioned something before. If cost was no object, that would be high up there in the material that
It should be very high up there. Yeah, if you wanted a big boat that can handle anything, that's probably the way to go, in my opinion. Yeah. And for catamarans, you can't do steel, so you don't have a choice. If you want a really big catamaran, you either do really thick fiberglass or an aluminum catamaran.
Yeah, or one of the other, Kevlar or carbon fiber, but nobody
really deep pockets for those. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not. I would say that's not really mainstream. Those are more like boutique builders that are building with carbon fiber and Kevlar and stuff like that. And there is parts of boats that are being, if you want to strengthen up a part of a boat stronger than the rest of the boat, you would let some layers of Kevlar or carbon fiber over the fiberglass, I believe is how they do it. and that would strengthen up that specific area. Some more, like I've seen one of the channels on YouTube that I watched that he basically covered his whole dagger boards and stuff that would, rudders and dagger boards and stuff like that that would otherwise have an issue with possibly, breaking or wearing. He covered those with carbon fiber. But then again, watching the process, it seemed quite a lot more difficult than just laying some fiberglass. So yeah, I mean, definitely the skill level is a little higher than, just learning to work with fiberglass, which, is not really, it's definitely an art, but it's not really that difficult to learn. So what do you think? I think
I mean, I think in the end, it's probably not going to be a quick and easy decision for anyone to make. And when they, if they want to build a new boat, I think it goes into a lot on, what are the design specs made for, and how it works. One of the very popular brand of catamarans is designed by Richard Woods, the Woods catamarans.
Yeah.
And he designs them so that you can either build them with fiberglass and foam or with wood. And I think the wooden ones probably come out a little bit cheaper. But there was a company that used to build them in the UK, and they would make those ones out of fiberglass and that. In the end, apparently the performance was pretty much on par. So it came down to what you were comfortable working with. That I think made the decision in the end.
Yeah.
So,
those are
in fact, what's his name? Our previous guest that's got that very nice electric boat. What is it? So with the perfect roof that we've had. Sorry, it wasn't Peter. It was Samir. It wasn't Peter. I can't remember. But his boat is a Richard Woods boat, and his boat was factory built. So his was a fiberglass boat from the design.
Yeah, that's. I mean, they're building like, I believe that Richard Woods is similar to like James Warham, and where they sell a kit. There's quite a few manufacturers out there that sell a kit, and then humans as we are, we sometimes take the kit and modify the kit, and then some of us, not me, but some other people have taken a fiberglass kit and made a wood boat, and a fiberglass kit and made a steel boat, and a fiberglass kit and made an aluminum. Like, they basically mix and match with. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's not so great. So
it was Reinhardt's boat. That is a Richard Woods Mirror 35.
Okay, wow. Yeah, but
his was factory built, which is why it's fiberglass.
Yeah, now it's been like heavily modified. So yeah, I mean, but the end product that he has now is fantastic, right? It came out
he's done a great job.
So
it took him 3 years, but well worth it in the end.
Yeah, it came out really, really nice. He's still working on it. I think we're gonna have him back on the show one of these days that's one of Jason's idols, so to speak. Someone that he's enamored, somebody that he's trying to build a hard top for his solar, using a similar design that Reinhardt used, but it came out really good. I don't blame him. All right. I mean, so hull materials, which one's the best? None of them are really the best. It depends on which one is the best for you and which one is the best for your environment. Jason's been in and out. I believe he's not been in as much as he wanted to today, but so be it. He's traveling. He's hopping back on a plane from Paradise to blizzardy New York, and then back to Missouri, where it's probably even more blizzardy. So I feel bad for him. I'm sitting here in shorts and a t-shirt in sunny South Florida, and I know Patrick's out there in the Mediterranean in the sun somewhere too. So
today was usually Lisbon. I haven't got a lot of time left, so I need to sort of start winding up over here.
Yeah.
But what have we got coming up? What's happening next week?
So definitely we're going to wind up. We promised that we were going to keep this one short and sweet. You know what? I don't know what's coming next week because Jason Jason's usually the leader of this ship, and I'm just stepping in to ad lib, be the leader for and half-assed know what I'm doing here. But but yeah, I mean, what do we have going up? Do you see
It
you
says
see anything?
Richard Stone. So special guest Richard Stone. To be honest, I don't know who Richard Stone is. Is it one that you've lined up, or is it one that
No,
Jason's lined up?
no, I don't think so. I think it's one that Jason's lined up.
Excellent.
I don't know who that is. Wow.
So we'll all find out next week who Richard Stone
We
is and
will.
what he's done, which is probably something quite incredible, and that's why
Yeah.
he's going to be in.
Yeah. All right. So I will follow in Jason's footsteps. Visit us, myself at Extraordinary Horizons. We're on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube under that same handle, Extraordinary Horizons. Patrick is on YouTube under Sailing Electra. He is under Instagram under Sailing Electra. I don't remember if he has a TikTok or not.
Not really. Nothing good.
Yeah, I mean, visit Jason. He is under Soul Seeker for Life. He is on YouTube. He is on TikTok, and he is on Instagram. Comment, like, share this video around, spread the word, and we will be back next week. And we'll let Patrick take the show out in his European ways. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thanks for watching.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a